along Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles. There is a dazzling area of movie studios. This is the heart of Hollywood, where countless stories about dreams and reality unfold every day. 30 years ago, a 12-year-old boy began his incredible journey of struggle from this very place. The boy's name was Jack Bryan. He had never shown much interest in school, always feeling that the knowledge learned in class was disconnected from his own life. He was more passionate about the stars on the screen and the characters they portrayed. He longed to be one of them. Finally, he gathered the courage to tell his father about his dream. "Dad, I want to be an actor, and I don't want to go to school anymore." Jack thought his father would be angry and oppose him, perhaps even slap him back to school. To his surprise, his father was silent for a moment and finally said, "If you really want to be an actor, then start from the most basic jobs in a Hollywood studio. If you can stick with it for 3 years, I will support you to study acting in film school." With an excited heart, Jack arrived at the Hollywood studios, where the most famous directors, actors, and producers of the time gathered. Walking through the brightly lit sets, he felt that every corner was filled with endless possibilities. But soon, he realized that breaking into the studios was not as easy as he had imagined. He hesitated outside the studio doors, and every time he saw a famous director or star pass by, he would bow respectfully and plead for them to take him in. He offered to clean up the set and carry props for free. Unfortunately, everyone looked down on the little boy, and no one wanted to take in this seemingly useless child labor. A week went by, and Jack still had nothing to show for it. Filled with disappointment and frustration, he sat at the entrance of the studio crying. His sobs caught the attention of the studio manager, who, concerned that this would affect the studio's image, approached him and asked, "Kid, what are you doing here?" "I want to work in the studio. I want to be an actor, and I'm willing to do anything, even without pay," Jack said firmly. The manager hesitated for a moment but eventually agreed to take him in, with the condition that he could only work as an apprentice, responsible for the most basic chores. On the surface, he was an apprentice, but in reality, Jack was doing all the work of a child laborer. His daily tasks included cleaning the set, helping actors move props, and preparing meals. Though it was hard work, he did it willingly. Jack was busy every day in the studio, surrounded by glamorous stars, while he could only toil away behind the lights. Even though he was just a child laborer, he did not consider himself an outsider. He took advantage of every spare moment to stand behind the camera, observing how directors guided actors and how each scene was arranged. He noted every detail carefully and then practiced imitating them back in his dorm. Sometimes, he would sneak a peek at the scripts left behind in the studio, trying to read the lines and imagining himself as one of the characters. This eagerness to learn soon caught the attention of an old director, Alfred Hitchcock. The great director was amazed by the boy, who always hid in the corners watching others perform, and admired his serious attitude. "Why do you always hide over there watching?" Hitchcock asked him one day. Jack blushed and replied, "I want to learn acting, but I have no opportunity. I know I can only do child labor right now, but I believe one day I will stand in front of the screen." Hitchcock was moved by the boy's sincerity and determination and decided to give him a chance for a small role. This was the opportunity Jack had dreamed of, but when he received the script, he found he couldn't understand the complex lines. Due to neglecting his studies, he struggled with many basic vocabulary and sentences. Ultimately, he performed poorly in the audition and lost Hitchcock's favor. At that moment, Jack deeply realized his shortcomings. He regretted not studying hard in school and understood that if he wanted to truly realize his dreams, he first needed to build a solid foundation of knowledge. After some thought, he asked his father, "I want to temporarily leave the studio and go back to study." After discussing with his father, Jack temporarily set aside his child labor role and enrolled in a regular middle school in Los Angeles. He vowed to complete all his courses within 3 years so that he could return to the studio and better understand scripts. He left home early and returned late every day, diligently studying literature, history, and drama. He knew he had no way out and had to give it his all. 3 years later, his grades were good enough to apply to a decent university. But Jack chose not to continue his studies. Instead, He returned to the studio where he had once shed sweat and tears. This time back on set, Jack was no longer the clueless boy. He could understand every word of the script and knew how to better portray characters. He was still the child laborer in the studio, but whenever he had time, he would stand behind the camera learning, seizing every opportunity to improve himself. Hitchcock once again noticed this diligent young man and gave him an important supporting role. In the film Millionaire, Jack captivated audiences with his natural and fluid performance, making them remember this new face. The film's release thrust this once obscure child laborer into the spotlight. In the next 10 years, Jack's career soared. The films he starred in, such as The Pursuit of Dreams, Wheel of Destiny, and The Fearless, were blockbuster hits across cinemas in the United States, and he gradually became a box office guarantee in Hollywood. His acting received unanimous recognition in the industry, earning him multiple nominations for film awards. Looking back on those days as a child laborer on set, Jack Bryan is filled with nostalgia. In an interview, he said, "I am grateful for those tough years. They taught me what hard work is and what perseverance means. Without those days, I would not have today's achievements." He understands that it was the creative and challenging atmosphere of the studio that allowed him to learn so much. He saw the charm of art on set and learned how to infuse his emotions into his characters. For him, the difficulties and failures he once faced were not obstacles, but stepping stones to success. Jack Bryan's story teaches us that the environment has a significant impact on a person, but what truly determines success or failure is one's personal beliefs and efforts. He found his direction in the most basic child labor job and discovered the strength to move forward amid difficulties. He said, "If you are willing to keep working hard and learn from every failure, then nothing in this world can stop you from achieving your dreams." His experiences remind us that success is never just about talent. It is also about years of persistence and growth. This once obscure child laborer has now become a shining star in Hollywood, and his story serves as an inspiring example for countless young people. Even if you are at the bottom now, as long as you do not give up hope and do not stop working hard, one day you will welcome your own moment in the spotlight.